Okay. Emma, would you like to start? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to say, just welcome everyone. I do understand that we are in the most finest bit of weather that we've had for a little while, so really appreciate people giving up their time to join us tonight. We will be recording so that people get the opportunity to view this. And really, for us at DEFA, we just want people to get a bit of a feel for what Nicole does, what sort of regen indicators are, how we can sort of improve our soils really, and sort of learn from each other. So we've got a very broad, got people who are really interested in regen and what that stands for, and then other people who are just literally on this journey and just starting out. So really for us it's just opening up the door and just allowing that share of knowledge to happen really. So I want to say thank you to Nicole for agreeing to do this tonight. It's a real opportunity for us to get you here and get us learning a bit more. And also to the Soilmentor team, great. Thank you very much for organising it. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it like that and over to you guys. Oh yeah, thank you to our 3 farmers, by the way. I mustn't remember them because they're really important. So David, Christina and Kaylee, and Jew in there. Just, yeah, thank you so much for sort of volunteering to sort of get us into a deep dive into what you're currently doing on your farms. So yeah, thank you again.
Thanks so much, Emma. And DEFA for hosting us. Again, welcome everyone. Really appreciate Kaylee, David, Christina, and Joanne for being here. And of course, Nicole, that I will introduce in a minute. Really excited for this coaching session and learn with Nicole's guidance from the observations that the 3 farmers made on their farms. Just to say, my name is Victoria and I'm part of the Soilmentor team. I think most of you in the attendees have used Soilmentor as part of the Soil Health Initiative, which is a tool built to support regenerative experiments and easy soil testing in the field. We worked with Nicole and her team to compile the regen indicators that you have used and create the regen dashboard, which is an amazing tool to track and understand your soil health, and that you will see throughout the webinar to facilitate the coaching. So we'll divide the session in 3 parts. We'll have a little bit of introduction, then we'll have about 20 minutes per farmer to go over the observations using Soilmentor with Nicole, and then we'll make sure to have a Q&A at the end to answer your questions. So please make sure to write questions in the Q&A, and we'll spend some time at the end to answer them. So Nicole, will introduce you in my own words, and then hand it over to you. So Nicole is a world-renowned agroecologist, a coach, and an author of the book For the Love of Soil. Her and her team have more than 25 years of extensive practical experience in regenerative soil and land management, alongside coaching and training the new coaches. So thanks so much for being here, and over to you.
Thanks, Victoria. Hi, everybody. Introductions like that always make me feel a little old. Anyway, not old, I'm in my prime, and I'm joining you right now from Montana. It's stinking hot here, but beautiful day. Everything's starting to kind of burn off. So I started working with the Soilmentor team, I guess in 2000. COVID had hit and we'd made our own app. I'm a software developer. It was kind of clunky and hard to do, and it was very complex for our consulting team. And then it was just this match made in heaven connecting with Soilmentor to find something that is so functional. But the reason we loved it during COVID is we couldn't get out on farm with our people. And what I realized was farmers were observing perhaps more than what I would when I'm out there for the day, because you're kind of limited on time. They could be doing follow-ups through the season. There were things that they were able to show us that what I really realized is that's really what lit the farmer up, rather than me being in the field telling them, oh, all this stuff's happening, is you get to do that for yourself. So thank you for having me. It's been really amazing just to take a look behind the scenes, and thank you for your vulnerability. We call this ruffling through the underpant drawer in terms of what's underneath the surface. And I just want to add, the value of digging these holes is often we see above ground indicators, and you might be like, oh, this area gets really dry, or we have some nutrient deficiencies here, or we have poor yield. Maybe you've got pests or diseases. And it's really once we sort of lift back that veil and go, oh, wow, there's these factors that are working beneath the soil. And you may have observed that above ground, and now we can kind of pull those pieces together. So thank you for doing this. Let's go. We're going to start with David.
That was a surprise because it was meant to be Kaylee, but I'll
I'm not going to
survive.
read the introduction. Oh, no, Victoria, she's the boss. What are we going to do?
Let's start with Kaylee. I have the Akiana.
Oh,
Sorry, David, false start. It's good for your heart.
Okay. Kaylee, would you like to give us an introduction of your farm and any context that you'd like to share?
yeah, of course. My name is Kaylee, and I farm in the south of the island on a family farm with my family. We're predominantly dairy. We have 100, currently milking 180, and we also have 300 young stock and beef cattle. We have around about 100 acres arable. We try to be self-sufficient, and we grow our own silage as well. Yeah, as in just well, I don't know where to start, but the samples that we took off Soilmentor, basically out of the 10 fields, we'd sampled 10 fields and we sampled the chemical analysis from that. My thinking was to drill it down to 3 fields, and one was a good example of good grazing field, always high yielding. The cows really love going into there and graze out really well. It's not particularly a new lay. It's probably about over 10 years old anyway, but it just seems to do really well. It's got a good drainage, and yeah, so I was interested in what was going on underneath the surface of that one, but it's quite intensive. It gets a lot of slurry, it gets a lot of fertilizer. And then the second field is also similar management practice, except it's not on the grazing platform, it's used for silage. And then young stock after we've took a third cut off it. It's probably about 4 years old, but it's just not quite, it's definitely not got it's not reached its potential yet. And yeah, we thought it would be a good one to investigate as well. And the third one we chose, which is completely different management. It hasn't been ploughed since time began, and it just receives. It's just a young stock field, very minimum inputs, and yeah, I thought it would be good to compare the 3 of them and see where we see what we can find basically. I don't know if there's anything else that I need to touch on, but might be a start anyway.
Perfect. All right. Now that's super helpful, Kaylee. For you, what do you think the value is of taking these observations? Is it supporting what you're seeing?
In terms of the value out of the Soilmentor, I guess it was just to try and understand how to understand more of what's going on. I feel like it just touching the surface of understanding soils in general. Once you dive, it's just like the tip of the iceberg. And yeah, just find it really interesting to try, and obviously we're an island, inputs are very expensive, and just probably from a selfish business point of view, if we can do more with less, then it's a no-brainer to try and really drill down into what I keep saying it, but what potential the fields have.
Yeah.
And try and unlock that really, which sounds really cringy, but yeah.
No, No,
I can't think of any other way.
sounds-
But
I love it.
observation.
You've painted a
Oh,
beautiful picture.
yeah,
Are there
observations,
any?
I don't know. It's just as I'm going about, and yeah, I've been home 10 years now, so I feel like I've got a good understanding of the farm and which area grows and which area doesn't. So that's why I picked those 3 ones.
Gorgeous. Yeah, love it. Really, really good selections. Is there, just so as an aside, is there a limestone quarry on the Isle of Man? Do you have access to lime? Is that one thing that's on the island?
Yeah, we do. We do have access to lime, but it is quite limited.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no,
It's a
good to
limited
know.
window,
All right,
but there is access and there is options.
okay, good, good, good. Yeah, sometimes on islands we have specific challenges and opportunities for sure. Victoria, let's dig under the ground. What have we got? Oh,
Oh.
you do not have access.
Gosh, sorry.
Nice.
What do I do?
So no, it's Victoria's under control.
Okay.
So let's see. What I like
Uh,
in this is how you can actually look for specific aspects. So what Victoria's doing is she typed in rhizosheath, so we can zoom in. All right, and I think before we even look at the roots, just to kind of look at that beautiful crumb structure. So this field is the one that's getting slurry and fertilizer.
yeah, it's quite intensive.
Yeah. Are we talking a lot of fertilizer? Just, less than 100 kilos or?
Yeah, it would be can I just double check which field this one is? Just otherwise that could be
That's the
awkward.
turn middle field.
Oh yeah. So this is the silage field that's not quite so good.
Okay.
I think it might be a compaction issue, but I'm jumping to conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So looking at
Um,
that there's a little evidence of plates there. You see just above the thumb. But you see the roots are getting through that. So this would not be significant. This would slow growth down a little bit, but not in the way that you're seeing, right? Not as significant. As perhaps
okay.
what you're seeing. Often
Okay.
when we see those kind of you see that sort of darker brown coloring around roots. Either it's indicating those roots are they're dead, perhaps, and we want to snap
Okay.
them to see if there's white in there. But do you see that sort of rusty looking color throughout the profile? There's sort of
Yeah,
patches
I did
of that.
see there's other pictures that you can see it more clearly that it's definitely rusting, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure where that's from, but yeah, it's obviously not good.
Um, well, we like to stay away from good and bad as an analogy, but really like what's it telling us?
That's
And
me,
so
perhaps
yeah, you
rust.
can see that, and you can see you know, you guys are in a wetter environment where we're going to see, moisture movement. Is that what's happened basically is the water table has come up at some point. Iron has gone into solution, and then when the water retreats, it reacts with oxygen and literally makes rust. So can you smell it? Does it smell kind of like that sort of iron rusty smell?
I couldn't really decipher what it was really. It just smelled
Yeah.
like soil to me. I need to tune what a smell a good smelly soil is.
It's like
I
being
need
a
to,
wine taster, right? Like if the
yeah,
terroir, which is literally the terroir, but we can smell if a soil needs maybe does need a little bit of calcium, for instance. Like you'll smell that kind of acidic smell. We can
okay.
see that can, a little bit of calcium can actually help to open and allow a soil to breathe. You guys have got a lot of organic matter in all the soil samples that I looked at. Like the rest of the world would probably like have a heart seizure when they see you have like 22% organic matter when, I mean, we're out here on 2.5% people are happy about. Well, not happy, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
So you see how blocky that soil is. I think the next photo you've got, Victoria, we can kind of see that broken open a little bit. Yeah, so there is some evidence. What we really want to see, like, is there anything that's actually preventing roots penetrating? And this might be an interesting thing for everyone to do. Is you've probably been doing your soil test, 15 centimeters down, I hope. You can actually do a sample 15 to 30 centimeters and just take a look and see, is there like minerals further down the profile that those roots aren't accessing, that perhaps if we can get biology working and the worms really moving, that we'll start to see that minerals being moved up through the profile, right? And we've seen that happen again and again, which is quite fun, is maybe the past fertilizers still sitting somewhere, right? Or past lime applications are just sitting further down the profile, especially in higher rainfall environments where we see things like calcium will actually move down through the profile. It's just waiting for the roots to get down there. So I don't think it's compaction in this photo. Have we got another one?
There might be some more photos, because what I was finding was sorry, it's a motorbike going past. That the first like 5 to maybe 8 centimeters was quite loose and crumbly, and there was lots of like little worms and even worms on the surface. But past that, it did look like too compact, and the roots did look like there was a lot of dead roots. But this is my very untrained eye. And another regen indicator that I did, there was quite a bit of like insects that you wouldn't want there, or those like I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I just assumed that kind of all added up to something different needed to happen. It has been in crop. Oh, I did say it has been in crop for a long time, like approximately 8 years, where we used spring barley, and then we planted like a forage crop, like a forage rape. But that didn't do so well the last couple of years because I think it might have had like a club root issue. And then we've sown it down to get rid of to just obviously keep the cycle going. But I don't know if that could also all just have issues underneath somewhere, where it's a nice crop now, but in the winter it just looks really open and vulnerable. So but there's a lot of clover in it as well, so that obviously just covers a lot in the summertime. But yeah, sorry, that's all the info. I don't
No, that's great. And I think oh, was it cultivated or no-till?
No, it was cultivated.
To what depth?
So it was about 4 or 5 years ago now. What's a normal plough?
Oh,
It's
okay,
not
so
my
fairly
area
deep,
of
right?
expertise. Yeah.
No, that's fine. It's just
Plowed
if
and
we were
para-harrowed a couple of times. The worst thing that you want to hear, but yeah.
Yeah, so the power harrows. There's probably people on this call. How deep would a power harrow go? Because it's going to be shallower than the moldboard, right? Does anyone?
3 or 4 inches.
3 or 4 inches. So what I'm pointing to, Kaylee, is that, thank you, that what you're seeing is not the plow pan, it's actually a collapse of that structure, right? If we're starting to see the formation within 4 years, that formation of that sort of compaction layer that's 5 to 8 centimeters, we would call those the cow pans rather than a plow pan. So this is around livestock grazing, but this is silage, right? You do graze it.
Yeah, we do graze it. Yeah.
So
with young stock.
Yeah, and it's not to say that we're always going to form a cow pan, but there's times where, and I imagine everyone on this call has done this at some point, is we end up running livestock when it's wet, and we're just going to do some damage, right? But how quickly can that soil heal itself is really down to how much microbial biomass do we have in these systems. And one summer we were running hay down to our back fields, and We had ruts. The tractor ruts were so deep that the tractor bottomed out, so we couldn't get to feed hay. Within 6 weeks, when the season changed, that all healed, right? So this idea that like compaction layers are a permanent from a one-off event, we can actually open that up very quickly if you've got biology working. Sorry, Vic, I keep talking. Do you want to keep moving on? No.
We can go to the leather jacket.
Oh, yes, please. So I think you asked the question of if this was a wireworm. So this particular
Yeah.
image is a
Oh
leather
no, that's
jacket.
not the wireworm. He doesn't look very wiry. I didn't know what that was.
Don't
What
look
is it?
very
A leather
wiry.
jacket?
Yeah, so they are crane
Looks like of
larvae. So they,
a challenge that you need to eat. A widgety grub.
oh yeah, yes, it's why you need teenage boys. Is they turn into those very skinny, they almost look like a flying daddy long legs, right? Which is so weird for
Yeah.
a big, fat, gross looking maggot. Again, indicating more acidic conditions, indicating higher moisture levels, and also indicating that we don't have pest suppressive microbiology. So there's microbes that will infest these guys. There's nematodes, beneficial organisms in the soil. So really just saying, okay, something's just not imbalanced. And if you look at the root mass around that leather jacket, it does look like there is some roots in there that aren't breaking down as well as they could. I want to see dead roots just disappear. Like you really don't see a lot of dead root mass. Now, with the moisture that you have, and you're if you are putting slurry, is the slurry going on this field? Sorry, I asked it.
Yeah.
It should be really stimulating biology, but what it stimulates predominantly is bacteria. And those bacteria are the ones that can create soil structure to collapse, but they're also not going to be helping with things like wireworm. So it's about how do I feed different types of microbes in this system? So yeah, great photograph. There was another one back of a bug.
Oh, that was the wireworm, I think. It was just a tiny little wiry white thing.
I
But you
think
can't see it. It's a
might
rubbish
have been,
photograph.
I think it might be a
Oh,
clover
and
root
like
weevil.
some larvae as
Yeah.
well. And caterpillar typey thing.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, rubbish
Okay, I think
photograph.
that's
Need to get a new phone.
I think this one's a clover root weevil.
Oh
So
dear.
when we're sampling for insects, we want to be sampling through the season because these guys have a life cycle. So right now they're smaller. They can get pretty big and chunky. That one's pretty big. You can tell when you've got them in your pasture, your legumes will have notches cut out of the side of the leaves, and that's the adult, which is a black weevil. But yeah, it's amazing how much dry matter they're eating. I think we have it in the account of in Soilmentor about how much they potentially are eating, but 14 clover root weevils will eat 2,200 kilograms of dry matter per hectare per year. So I guess one, you could divide that by 14. But if we're counting them shovel per shovel, like are we seeing, higher numbers? A bit of diversity is fine. I could just see one every now and then. It's fine, but yeah.
He doesn't look too good. Okay.
Well, it's fine if it's just one. But how many did you count in a shovel? I think.
I think there was a few.
Yeah.
Should
You're
be
like
more precise
too
next time.
close to count.
Yeah.
Here's
Oh,
another
there's maybe another one.
Yeah, so that's a grass grub. I'm not sure what grass grub species you have.
Have to do some investigating.
Yeah, these guys eat a lot. They eat a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. So thinking about root shedding, what we're seeing is that your roots are kind of moving through the profile, but not very densely.
Yeah.
And so that would indicate more like it is insect chewing rather than a massive change in pH or a massive change in, let's say, waterlogging or compaction or anything like that. So these guys will eat a lot of these guys are root chewers. So they will eat any of that new root hair, any of that new root development. So
it probably makes sense because I found it really difficult to find any nodules on the clover, or I found one or two, but it was nothing like the the good grazing field examples. You could see like the string and then the string, the roots.
Yeah.
And
But do you
them
want to
all
click to the
in,
good
in a lovely
pasture?
little line. But this one was just the occasional one or two. But then it did look a nice-ish shade of pink. So the ones that I found, but they were very limited. So that would probably make
Yeah.
sense with the insect problem, which is interesting. I need to do something about that ASAP.
Vic, have you got a picture of the good soil? Kaylee's talking
You're
about.
probably going to say it's not good now.
Um,
I thought it was good.
Oh, no.
So it would be the bottom of the flat.
is that the name of the field?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
How fast you are, Vic. Like a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So if you go that
nodulation of legumes,
yes.
one of those front top right. Well, I thought they were quite
Yeah.
good.
So what?
Everybody else is going to say, watch out. But
Yeah.
I
Very
think you got the message.
small.
Very small.
Very small.
Oh,
Yeah. Great nails though. I love it. I love a photo with nail polish. Yeah. Small, not many, so we will see those, yeah, depends on the species, right? So you want to look at different
okay.
legumes to kind of get a sense of what they should look like. But yeah, those are pretty little fellas. But yeah, you can see that slight tinge of pink even before you've pinched it. So when you pinch it, is it bright red? Did you pinch any?
No.
No. That's what those great nails are for. You pinch it.
So,
There you
yeah.
go.
Just to take your eyes off them.
All right, Vic, I'd like to look at there's a soil one there. Whichever you choose. Yeah, that one, fine. So just to look at it compared to the other one,
Yeah, it's much comelier.
yeah, a lot more crumbs. We can see worms. We've got clean worms, which we love a good clean worm. Often an indicator that their mucus layer is working well on their bodies, so they need a little bit of calcium in order to do that. These are, it just look like, I imagine you guys have all the sort of common European worms, right? Yeah, but again, not a very dense root mass. This can point to our grazing rotations. It can point to, yeah, maybe creatures, but definitely more roots in this. And see how white those roots are, a lot of them. So they're living. There's not as much iron in this. Like, I know it sounds weird, but I can smell your soil. The other soil I could smell. Like it had that strong iron. This one doesn't have that smell, so it probably indicates we've got better. Although, can we see the regen platform and look at what was happening with infiltration?
Oh, I don't think I did an infiltration test on this one. But
I
it's
really
just at the top.
I would do it.
Okay,
Compare
it's
that
just that second
to
one
your
down.
field. Yeah. Yeah. So you see your earthworm numbers are lower, and I would expect from that high iron soil to see poor infiltration. But really getting those earthworm numbers up, this is key to cycling those nutrients from deeper down and allowing more pore spaces so that roots and air and water can enter into these systems. So yeah, and especially seeing lots of babies, it means they're responding to something, they're enjoying, like they're breeding up. Like I want to see a range of, little ones and big ones, but yeah, what's going on? It's great. Good job.
Well, it's a
The
start.
yes, the rhizosheath, when we looked at the photographs, we didn't really see a lot of rhizosheath development in any photos.
Oh dear.
Um,
Oh, I thought that was quite
so
good.
like that, you want to zoom in, there's a little bit, but yeah, that's great. Excellent.
Oh, do you not?
But a lot of,
That's
yeah, a lot of those roots are naked, and when we're thinking about issues perhaps with iron or lower pH, then this is critical to basically buffering and balancing that soil system out. Is the plants can do that with a well-developed rhizo sheath. So next time you were to seed, I would really want to put some kind of what we call biopriming, some kind of seed dressing on that. It could be compost, it could be vermicast, could be humate type products. But I think, especially when we think about islands, you guys could be all making your own vermicast and putting that onto seed, and then we'll get better rhizosheath development. And it can make a world of difference.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kaylee. I'm conscious of time.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. Thank you for your time.
David, I will pull up your account.
Hello. Yeah, David Cool, farming partnership with my brother Rob. We farm 650 acres around the south of the island, spread over a few farms, mostly dairy, and then we take all the calves off them and they're either reared up as beef or replacements. We're currently milking 206 cows. We peaked at about 230 on one platform at Ballagorn, and then various soil types, from sand down on the coast in the village of Port St Mary up to some heavier stuff where I am up on the hills above Ballabeg. We were what would be called a traditional New Zealand style grazing system with the dairy cows, heavy nitrogen use, probably 250 kilos a hectare, I guess. Lots of chemicals, lots of sprays, lots of pesticides or insecticides on the cows and all that. Till I woke up one day and realized it wasn't sustainable, and sort of put myself on a journey to try to learn how to be better and how to reduce all of them, including increasing insect life, starting to put in herbal lays, like multi-species lays onto the grazing platform to try to improve our resilience, because the clover and ryegrass lays we were on responded really well to nitrogen, worked really well until we got a dry spell or a wet spell, and then they just, especially in the dry, they just burned off, and then they took weeks and weeks to recover. We were ending up having to feed cows through the summer. So yeah, just on a journey to try to make the farm more resilient, more profitable, and give ourselves an easy life as well. Okay.
Lovely. Yeah, that's fantastic. Tell me what you see in this image.
What do I see in that image? Grass and trees. My view.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I love all the shelterbout and the trees that you have. Notice that sort of darkening and lightening in the pasture.
Yeah.
What do you think that might be?
Urine or cow patches, I'd say, which would indicate the phosphate or the nitrogen from the urine or the cow pat is driving growth basically in them, isn't it, and souring them.
Yeah. So these are one of the indicators that the biological cycle is not working as well as it could. Like we call them chicken pox in New Zealand, and you'll see it on extreme, like high nitrogen dairies. It's just like this huge growth of dark green, and then pretty much nothing in between. Now, I've heard people say this is fungi. It hasn't been our experience. Now, you can tell if it's potassium or nitrogen by looking at what's growing in there. So if you see a lot of clover growing in the dark green patches, that's telling you it's potassium. It's a potassium deficiency in the pasture. And if there's just grass in there, then it's probably nitrogen, right? So just saying that the nitrogen cycle is not working as well as it could. All right, good job. Let's look underground.
Okay.
So maybe whatever Victoria pulls up, what's the history of this field?
So that field there has been down in grass for a long time, probably 12 years or 15 years. It was subsoiled and overseeded. We overseeded it, but ran a subsoiler through it probably 6 years ago now. It will be getting quite a lot of slurry, quite a lot of nitrogen because it's on the grazing platform, and it's in the very bottom corner of the grazing platform, so it is cut when it gets it. It's one that we would choose to take out of the platform for cutting if we have a choice. It suffers quite a lot with docks. There's quite a lot of dock in there. I think, did you find, I don't know whether I've put the soil samples in right, but it's low in P and high in K. I can't remember what the pH was off the top of my head, but
I think we took a look. Was it 5.8?
Yeah, so it's low pH as well then.
Yeah.
Soil structure I didn't think was too bad.
No.
It's not brilliant, but it's not too bad.
Yeah. And this is where you've cut for the infiltration ring, so water moved right through the profile.
Yeah, it did seem to go to the outside of the ring quite heavily, I thought, but the infiltration wasn't too bad either, I didn't think, was
it? 4.0.
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Yeah, that was the second inch, yeah.
Pretty good. So this is what texture type is the soil? It's a loam, but
yeah, it's sort of medium, like heavy side of medium, I'd say.
So there is a little bit of clay in there. So structure wise, it's pretty good. Yeah, Victoria. I think we wanted to look at your poo. Well, not your, really good
I don't
manure in here. Well, I think we should also be looking at our own poo, just so I'm clear on that. But yes, not in this format. But do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey and kind of getting curious around dung and dung beetles?
Well, I'm an avid plate meter, grass measurer. Always have been. And years ago, I'd be going around and I would be basically, I could date the cowpats to the grazing rotation. By the time we got out to rotation 5 and 6, you could basically age the cowpats to the rotation. And we were, on the vet's advice, putting fly spray on the cows every 6 weeks, and they would be wormed with a milk safe wormer just before breeding. And there's one that I can't remember exactly what happened, but for some reason, I don't know, was I being lazy, but I never got round to actually putting the fly spray on them one year, early on in the summer. And I was measuring grass and I was like, ooh, the cowpats are disappearing. So I had a little look and I found what I thought was a dung beetle. So I sent it to a Twitter group in the UK and I ended up with a dung beetle specialist coming over and speaking to me. And when she actually explained to me about dung beetles and what they do and their importance in the environment, I was mind blown. And I've gone ever since down the route of doing everything we can to make sure we don't harm them. And yeah, they seem to have brought with them a lot of other life to the farm. They can make they disappear in the cowpats out of the paddock now, to the point where when you go in, we're on about a 24-day rotation, which yes, probably still short, but we've got a lot of cows to feed. The cowpats are pretty much gone. There isn't many left from the previous rotation now.
Gosh, that's fantastic. And to speak to your resilience, this is earth building. These are all of this pore spaces that starts happening when you get all that biology working. Because one, there's dung beetles, right? But there's so many different organisms that are going to be feeding on manure. And I think we see that as dung beetles lift in moister conditions, we'll see earthworms lifting as well. That is a beautiful cowpie. And I think for some people that might be doing beef, beef and dairy can have slightly different scoring, but that's a really nice looking cow patty. I kind of like it when it looks like someone said pumpkin pie, but like whipped cream with that little bit of a dimple. Think dung beetles, adult dung beetles don't have teeth, they suck. So they really need that kind of moisture anyway to really get in there. I think you've got pictures of the actual dung beetles. So I want to put this challenge to the Isle of Man is there are no common names for dung beetles. So I think you should call them things like, that's a a ballywaggy beetle or whatever you want to call it. Like we could name them. We call these ones the LBJs, which are little brown jobs. But whatever you want to call them, is there's an opportunity. But to see diversity is fantastic. These guys will all be dwellers.
Yeah, we've got
yeah.
dwellers and tunnelers over here. We don't have rollers over here, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. I don't really see rollers except in really dry. Is that true? Yeah, pretty dry climate. Gorgeous. All right. So do you know how many roughly were in a cow pie? Have you ever done that or got your kids to beetle?
I've never done a full like flotation test or anything like that, but the numbers are reasonable, I'd say. We're getting up to like 15 or 18 in the per cow pat. It seems to go with the weather. There's was it not last spring, the spring before, I was driven demented by them because they were all over the top of the plate meat. They're in my wellies, they're in my hair by the time I measured. The numbers have risen again at the minute with the hot weather. Like they're in the milking parlour on the cow's feet and stuff like that at the minute. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. You know, and thinking about that stabilization of your nitrogen cycle is really about getting these guys working, right? That they're going to help.
Yeah, well, they're putting organic matter into the soil. They're aerating the soil. They're doing a million jobs for us that I don't have to do. I can sit and watch them.
So I'm going to lay a challenge. My manure here, we've counted 700 dung beetles in a single pie.
Right.
Right. So challenge accepted.
You need more cows per acre.
These are horses. Yeah, we've done it with cows as well. But yeah, so fun. All right, what have we got? What else?
We wanted to look at your if you could share a bit more about your bricks, David.
Yeah.
Right. In what way?
What was the plant you were comparing it to?
It's usually like I would usually do like the grass and clover, what the cow's going to eat, and then I would do the predominant weed in the field. So it would be either a dock or dandelion. I have done thistles once, but I had gloves with me that day. We have an issue with some ragwort in a couple of fields, so I've done the ragwort in the past as well. The ragwort, it does give it was all right. I've started to realize that it's me that's wrong when we've got these weed issues in the field. You know, I sprayed weeds my whole life and they're still here, so I'm not very good at it.
I think that would make 100% of the population are not good at it. I don't think anyone's eradicated a weed, right? So the part of the reason we designed this bricks barometer is whoever's photosynthesizing the highest is winning the game of life. Some plants like dock, I do find, can have a lot of water, can be quite watery anyway. But so to see that you've got at least 3 or above difference. So let's say, what was your grass, like 10?
No, I can never really get the grass up to 10. Like 7, maybe 8 at a push, and then the docks are usually in the sort of 3 to 5 region. Yeah. So yeah. We moved into a new property and found that there was a bunch of dock that all came up, and my ex-husband wanted to spray it, and I'm like, let's do this bricks barometer, and what we found was the dock was significantly lower than the grass, so I just told him to leave it, and actually it all just threw up a seed head and was done. But you know, our management is going to be altering that, how well those plants are photosynthesizing. So the lower the weed is, then the better. So you know, really testing your ragwort, taking a look, who am I managing for? It's a good indicator to tell you who you're managing for. So to see that difference of 3 and even 2.5, you know, we're still favoring the plants that you want to favor. So this is great, David. Yeah. One field I wanted to look at was the Collins field on Ballereni. So Ballereni is a farm we rented 14 months ago. It's about 50 acres. It was set stocked for probably 50 years. We didn't get it until April last year. Didn't have any, we flat out by that point and didn't have any time to do any fencing or anything. So it was set stocked again last year. And then over the winter, we've put a water system in and we fenced it all into individual fields. I went and done infiltration, etc. Well, the infiltration was, in my opinion, zero. I had to put a figure in, and I only put it on the 1 inch, which didn't come through to this because the water didn't move. But if you dug into the soil, the actual soil looks reasonable enough. I think I did take some pictures of it. The actual soil looks reasonable enough, but it just won't take water. So there's like a thatch layer on the top. It won't be soils. Oh, there they are.
Like what I think is interesting in this is like notice the color of the soil. And actually notice the color of the pasture. If you click on that one in the middle, Vic.
This one?
Yeah.
So it had been grazed, and it had I ran a mower over the top of it to tidy it up a bit because it was
Okay.
looking a
okay.
bit. But there's quite a thatch layer in the surface. But like to me, that soil didn't look too bad, but it just didn't seem to want to take water.
No, isn't that interesting? Can we look to the photo to the left, Vic? Let's see. And up.
My nails aren't painted, are they?
You have to work on that, David. Lovely shade of burgundy. Isn't that interesting? I can't really see. You know, sometimes we can get waxy materials coming off plant material that can create water repellency. There are organisms that will cause water repellency, but I don't see them on that surface. So you just felt like the water was just totally sitting there.
It sat in that ring for 15 or 20 minutes while I'd done a couple of other things.
Gee.
Is it just the thatch layer?
Yeah, but that thatch layer wasn't so bad. I mean,
so how do we I was trying to figure out how we rectify it to I was going to go and get the surface aerator and just go and run that through at sort of 3 or 4 inch and just see if that would wake it up a bit.
Yeah. I think sometimes judicious use of aerators is good. I just would follow it with some kind of biological, or put a dripper and drip a little bit of, even like a couple of cups a hectare of molasses, just something to get in there and just sort of wake the system up. And then that'll actually keep your aeration more effective rather than it closing up. How much rain had you had? Are these soils already saturated? I mean, they're not dripping.
It wouldn't have been much rain because we haven't had much rain for months.
No, I don't know, David. That's curious. I mean, you've got structure, you've got root mass.
I'm glad it's confusing you as much as it confused me.
Yeah. But yes, it could be some kind of waxy coating that maybe we can't see.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like worm castings is it contains 6 different organisms that break down waxy coating. So if we ever have areas where there is water repellency or hydrophobicness, they can actually break that down. But
I didn't actually do a worm count, but there was no point because I didn't really see many worms either.
Yeah.
So which is
this might be one where I want to repeat the infiltration ring a couple of times and just see, was that just some weird anomaly?
Yeah.
What water are you using? Is it hard water?
No, we don't have hard water. Okay.
Yeah, we find in some places people are using water that is really high in mineral that can actually be hard to infiltrate. But we ruled that out. Okay, don't know, David. Sorry, and I'm aware of time. Cool though. If you can figure it out, let me know.
Okay.
David. Christina and Dran, I'm gonna pull up your account.
Okay, hi, I'm Christina and this is Juan. We farm Balaturson in Mackald, so the northeast coast. It's about 250 acres, split over 2 farms about a mile apart. We have about 720 ewes, including replacements. We have some very wet fields in the winter. They just lie underwater. And in the summer, we have some other fields that are very dry. They face the sun all day and they burn off. And there's not much in between the two, so it's one or the other. We tried putting in some red clover mixes the last few years, and we've got one herbal lay-in as well. So yeah, that's sort of the introduction anyway.
Nice. And how's that herbal lay going for you?
Yeah, the herbal lay is doing really well. It's just I can't remember how big it is, 5 or 6 acre fields that we always wintered the ewe lambs on. It was getting a bit of compaction, had a few ruts in it, so we ploughed it out and tried to put the herbal lay in. Yes, doing really well. We find it's a lot drier because it was quite a wet field, so we feel like the roots, they are breaking down the layers in the soil and helping with the drainage.
Yeah, and they will do that. I mean, you think about the fibrous roots in plantain, or what else is in there? Plantain,
Chicory.
Yeah, plantain, chicory, red clover, white clover, and bit of ryegrass.
Yeah, and that chicory, will really punch down through that profile. Lovely, lovely. Cool, Vic, let's look under. Oh, nice. This is your silage, or this is your grass?
No, this was just for grazing.
Beautiful. Gosh, that's cool. So, again, plantain looks like there's chicory in there as well.
Yeah, that's the same field, that one.
Oh, it's the same field, so just a different angle. Lovely. Well, I'd be happy if I was a sheep in that pasture. Cool. Let's go underground.
So we wanted to look at the regen dashboard and your spading ease afterwards, and sort of talk through that. So I'm gonna pull up the picture from your spading ease.
So earthworm numbers look like they were low. Oh yeah, we wanted to look at this. So this is below the churchyard. This is another one that just kind of had us stumped, because that does not look like a soil where water would be infiltrating really well.
We haven't done an infiltration in.
Oh, okay.
Have we?
Good.
No.
Okay. Well, that's fine then.
No, that's where we'd wintered sheep on some turnips, so that was why it's so compact.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So thinking of like post-winter recovery, when we are growing winter crops and kale and having a lot of bare ground, and just there's a section in my book anyway about how to kind of do what we call a digestion spray, but thinking about that in terms of getting that soil to recover as quickly as possible so you can get it back into some good quality stuff. But that looks like overall the earthworms fairly low.
Yeah, but then at the minute we are extremely dry and burning off.
Yeah.
Right. So this sample has been done differently at like say David's sampling. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the bricks barometer, what were you comparing?
What did we do in that? We just did the grass, and what did we go to?
I can't remember.
Did we do one in there, or was it just the grass that we did?
I think it was just the grass, maybe clover as well. Just a handful of it.
Yeah. Grass, clover.
Well,
You can't remember.
No, I can't remember. But
we just did the grass in there.
Yeah.
Which was 3.5.
Oh, okay.
Did we do?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we did a weed. We did weed. Docks. It was docks.
Okay. So the dock was like 3 and the grass was
Yeah.
2.5. Okay. Yeah. And then we had that really high infiltration. So just this.
Yeah, we put the water in and it just went in seconds.
Yeah. So for some of you, it's worth actually doing, one, how quickly is it infiltrating, but then two, how many inches or how many millimeters can I get in an hour? So actually setting it up where you can kind of keep filling it for when it's that quick. But we really want to know, like, how much moisture, how much rainfall could the soil actually absorb? But yeah, that looks like a very thirsty soil. We're going to look at
would you say,
one.
sorry, would you say that we'd done something wrong in that test? That was the first field we'd done. So it was pretty hard to get the bit of pipe in deep enough to put the water in. But it is a field that burns off every single year without fail. And when we put the water in, like, is that part of the reason why? Because it just doesn't retain the water that well. Or
yeah, could be. So soil texture can have a role in, so we expect water to go in pretty quickly in sand, but I've been on properties that are turning their place into sandstone, like we can have poor infiltration on sand. But yeah, it could be an indicator of a soil that can be drying out too quickly. So lower organic matter, perhaps. Have we got a photo of that one?
Let's have a look. And I go back from. There you go.
So this is where it went in really fast.
Yeah.
yeah.
Some beautiful looking soil. Interesting. So it looks like there is a little bit of thatch on top. Where the sample 3, where it's broken apart at the top, Vic, can you just click on that? Yeah. So that's where the infiltration, so the water had gone in pretty evenly. Yeah. Amazing. So it's a sandy loam?
I'm not really sure on my soils, to be honest. I wouldn't really describe any of it as particularly sandy. I'd say it's probably medium.
Yeah.
Most of the farmland.
Okay. Yeah. And so this is why I don't always count that first inch of water going in, especially if soils are really dry. I want to start counting on that second and third inch to just take a look at how well is that soil absorbing. So the reason we put that first inch in is just to kind of basically make sure the soil's wet. So that's that first inch could go in really fast. So that's why I want to make sure we are doing more than 1 inch. Can we do that in the app?
Yes, we can add 2 inch, and the regen dashboard will show the second one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I think the second inch, it was 22 seconds or something as well. It was really fast as well.
Okay. Oh no, that's fantastic.
So
sorry, my bad. There's a bit of moss on the surface. So sometimes moss can be indicative. And David, looking at the one that, where your water wasn't moving through, sometimes that's, we'll see moss on those surfaces. So this is an oddity in terms of we've got moss, but the soil is absorbing water really, really quickly. Often moss and dot can be indicators that there's surface crusting, that the soils aren't breathing. But yeah, interesting.
Great. We wanted to show you pictures of how you are calculating your rooting depth. Because it was
yeah, it was really cool.
And kind of sharing that with everyone who is doing this test. Like this, turning the soil around.
Beautiful. Yeah. I've never really seen someone do it that way. So Christina and Joanne, we're going to steal this because but you can see like you know, we really do see that I think someone just had a crash on my road. The hay truck just hit a truck. That'll be fine. Okay. So yeah, we can see there's pretty good roots. Can we zoom in a bit? Lovely aggregation. The root masses that we've seen on all the photos aren't very dense, and that can really point to grazing recoveries. You know, we see a denser sward, and a taller sward, we start to see more root mass. This can be species specific, right? So different roots to different plants, obviously. And you see that. Where did you measure 80% of the roots? Where were you saying that 80% was?
I'm not sure if there's another picture, but
which field was this on? Is this the same one?
I think this
Are you
is
sure?
the field
Oh,
it
by the
says.
sure. So we sort of said 7 centimeters.
Yeah. Sometimes you can tell actually that 80% for everybody when you break that profile apart, that the where the majority of the roots are is often where you'll see that soil kind of like there'll be plates there, or it'll be quite clear just from feel where most of the roots are. But yeah, you see those. There's not a huge amount of root mass in there. Yeah. Cool. And this in part will point to your bricks as well. So the lower the bricks, often the smaller the root mass. As we get higher bricks, there's more sugars, more energy to drive the bigger root production, and then we'll see more resilience to these dry periods, right? So when we have a smaller root mass like that, these plants start to become very vulnerable to the dry. Great photos. You guys have done an excellent job.
Cheers.
Great. And one more thing. Could I'm gonna go into birds. Could you both share how you are using the Merlin app for everybody to know?
Yeah, so we've used the Merlin app. So just when we're out and about, we'll set it going while we're doing our soil samples, and just record what birds we hear around the fields. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because you don't see a lot of them because they're so far away. So yeah, we've seen quite a lot that we wouldn't even know we had. We've had a lot of meadow pipits, haven't we, lately?
Yeah, once we started using it, you sort of pay a bit more attention to what actually is in the fields, because there's a lot of different types of birds that we weren't really aware that were about. Yeah, what we've got: meadow pipits, willow warblers, linnets, and there's even ones that we haven't actually recorded on the devices, but we've noticed different ones. So we've got quite a few wheat ears over at Bulldrummer, and stone chats.
Wow.
So.
And what I love about this is if we think about like the soil food web pyramid, there's also a pyramid that's inverted above the ground, right? So the more birds often indicates, the more insects indicates, the more biology that's in a soil environment. So as we start to increase biodiversity, we'll see, you know, increased numbers of birds and increased diversity of birds, which is cool. They are studying regenerative properties around the US right now and finding like at least a 10-fold, if not 100-fold increase in birds on regenerative properties. I know just my small place here, I have 5 times the numbers of birds than people down the road do. So being able to record this, I think, it's a valuable part of us as producers telling our stories. One thing you can do is actually set an alarm just for breakfast, maybe once a week, that you just put your phone outside, and while you're having a cup of coffee, you just record bird sound for 10 minutes, and you'll start to track the different species through the year. And I think it's a really cool way to tell the story. So I love that you're doing this. Good job.
Great. Thank you. Is there anything else, or we'll move on to the questions?
Could we just have a look at the nodules in below the steep field? I just want to see, well, your thoughts on them. I don't know what good nodules or not, but we don't put any nitrogen on this field. It's just red clover, and it grows pretty well. So I'd say the nodules are working, the clover's working.
Yeah, but I think, did you have a picture where you actually pinched it so you can see in half? You can tell that that's pink, but really pinching it's going to give us that blood red color. I think.
No, we tried pinching it, but it was too difficult.
No fingernails. All right. Can we zoom in back to the bottom right? Just want to have a look at that root. Yeah. Okay, that might be, no, that is actually, okay. So the damage to that root on the right hand side, I'd say, is from a clover root weevil. So we can use some, and actually it's on the left as well. On the older plant, you can see there's a sort of gouging and scarifying, I guess, on the outside of that solid root mass. So this is worth just taking a look and going, oh, okay, so something's been chewing away. But also, if nodules are not performing like they should, then the plant will actually say, hey, buddy, I'm not carrying your weight anymore, and will actually shed nodules or shed root systems that are not providing a return on investment. So that symbiotic relationship with that bacteria, the plant's feeding it, the plant's giving it some sugar for that nitrogen. So if it's not pulling its weight, they will actually shed them. And there's a little bit of root gall actually. So you've got those three nodules in the middle. If you look to the root just to the right a little bit, you'll see there's that swelling there is more like a root gall. So again, just damage to those clover root systems. So it's just something to be observing, taking a look at, because this will certainly be reducing yield. But yes, I'd say they are pink. So Kaylee, just look at the size of those. There's more in there. I would still like to see more in red clover. And again, this is seasonal, right? So if soils get too cold, these will shed. So if it's below, no, I'm losing my metric. I've been here for too long. I think if it's below 20 degrees Celsius in the soil, then we'll, no, 15, no, 10. If it's below 10 degrees Celsius in the soil, then we'll start to see those nodules shut down. They need a little bit of warmth. So this is why sampling through the year, taking a look at color. If they're green, it means they have been fixing and now they've stopped. But yeah, good sign. So thank you.
Great. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Thank you, Christine and Juan and Joan, and go see any questions. But Nicole, we were just talking about nodules, and can you go through again what the colors in the nodule means, so everyone is clear on that?
So our legume families will form a nodule in response to infection, basically, of different types of nitrogen fixing organisms, rhizobia. There's a range of them, but they basically irritate the plant, so the plant forms this sort of this gall that you would see as a nodule. Now, that takes that bacteria. So they even have the bacteria in the system that will form the galls. Now, are they active or not? Are they fixing nitrogen? So if they're white, it means they've never fixed nitrogen, so that those organisms are not basically doing their job, and you've got to ask the question, why? Is there just too much nitrogen in the system right now that'll stop it? But if we don't have adequate cobalt or molybdenum, that will absolutely shut it down. So some of those trace elements can be really helpful. This is why we like a little bit of seaweed actually in our seed dressings, is that can be enough to provide the cobalt or the molybdenum that the plants need for that enzyme to basically get that whole nitrogen fixing process going. If they're green, it means they've been fixing and they've stopped. That might be a change in temperature. You might have just put a bunch of urea out there, or a cow might have peed on them, or sheep. And if they're blood red, that's what we want. So it's got leg hemoglobin, the same as in your blood, right? So we want to see that blood red color, means that they're fixing nitrogen and then passing that plant. So really, really lovely indicator, tells you a lot.
Thanks, Nicole. Another question is about, so you speak about the 5Ms a lot, and would love to hear more about what they are and how can we use them.
Yeah, so I think for any of the questions that we've had, like thinking what might have caused compaction, or why is water not infiltrating, is we run through the 5Ms. So the first one is my mindset. All right, how has my mindset been affecting my land management? And it might be like one mindset I come across a lot is wanting fields to look even and clean. Is that actually a mindset that could be creating compaction? Because we're keeping rotations really short. We might be mowing, we might be just doing ryegrass and clover. That's going to increase your compaction, for instance. Is it management? So what have I been doing management wise? So you choose whatever challenge it is. So I'm just going to choose compaction, right? What management could be causing compaction? It could be the use of machinery. It could be the use of nitrogen fertilizers. So nitrogen fertilizers will basically start to collapse layers in the soil structure. They feed a lot of bacteria that make the fine aggregates. And with rainfall, what we see is those fine aggregates move through the soil profile and start to form hard pans. So yeah, there's a bunch of management that could be causing compaction. Then the third one would be minerals. What minerals might cause compaction? Something like high magnesium, high potassium will cause compaction. Low calcium. Yeah, those are kind of some of the big players. High sodium can cause a soil that disperses, so we'll see soil crusting. Then our microbiology, so very bacterial soils are more likely to be heavily compacted. More fungal soils are nice and loose, so biology play a role. Your protozoa and your nematodes, they're moving through the soils, they're making more crumbs and air spaces and space for water to move. If we're low in those guys, then we could be seeing compaction. And then the last one is organic matter, which doesn't seem to be the issue for you guys. And in part, I think that's why you see such good aggregation, such beautiful soil, as you guys are sitting on a gold mine in terms of organic matter. It's now just how do we maximize on that? So the more organic matter, so if we were low in organic matter, that's where we're going to see compaction being caused by low organic matter. I think that's your case. So we use that as our decision-making tools, and then we triage our decisions based on what's happening with photosynthesis, sunlight capture, then what's happening with air movement, then water movement, and then our mineral cycling, right? So we use this as a decision-making tool for where should I take action, rather than, hey, I need to put on a bunch of fertilizer. It might be, hey, I need to use a biostimulant, right? So explaining bacteria to fungal ratio. So the ratios are going to depend on the soil test that you're using. So what methodology? So if you're using soil food web test, they're talking about like a 1-to-1 ratio of fungi to bacteria biomass, right? So it might just be a couple of fungi, and it could be a couple of 100,000 bacteria or 1,000,000 bacteria in your hands, right? We want that 1-to-1, if not slightly more fungal, for really good high quality pasture. I imagine, without being there, but that the Isle of Man probably had a lot of trees. Is that right? It would have been quite a treed landscape, and you would have had peats, right, David? You're on mute.
Yeah, I think historically there would have been a lot of trees around over here. There isn't now.
Yeah. So if everyone vacated the island, and how long do you think it would take for it to revert to trees? If you took all the livestock off and all the humans?
I don't know, 50 years.
50 years, yeah. So what that sort of indicates is, if with rest, a system will start to move towards, and your system will move towards fungi. And so this is where rest and recovery and grazing operations is so important. And feeding them, so fungi like rest, but they like more complex food. So if we're on, 24-day rotations, we're never really laying down any cellulose or lignin, which is what fungi need. So this is where we're seeing producers use things like bale grazing or straw or wood chips to actually shift towards more fungi if their rotations are shorter. And some of you are doing those diverse multi-species mixes. They're going to be on a different rotation, I imagine, than your ryegrass and clover, right? So we're just allowing things to rest a little bit more. That actually changes the root exudates. So as plants mature, perennial plants mature, they're sending more fats out into the soil system to feed fungi. But if we never allow it, so if you look at the New Zealand dairy system, they're on like 21-day rotations. They're feeding urea, so different nitrogen forms, pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, urine, manure. So your slurries are just feeding bacteria, by the way. And so they never feed fungi in the system. Fungi will feed a little bit on manure, but basically you're just feeding bacteria. And what happens is those soils start to collapse. So in New Zealand, 90% of New Zealand dairy farms are significantly compacted. And they're compacted because all they're doing is feeding bacteria, bacteria, bacteria.
So I think you commented on all three farms that there was a lack of roots or a low numbers of roots. Is that to do with the rotation length?
I quite possibly, right?
Yeah.
Could be, species diversity that we looked at in quite a few of those images as well. But yeah, root recovery and plant recovery go hand in hand, right? And bricks. So there could be something going on with trace elements. We see some pretty amazing changes if we address a trace element issue. Boron could be involved as well. And so the tests that I saw everyone load up didn't really give us enough information. Those tests, and not to throw any shade at those tests, but they're really designed for fertilizer applications as opposed to doing the diagnostics. So we could do a leaf tissue test, or a leaf sap test to take a look at what's happening with some of those trace elements. And you would need to specifically ask for things like cobalt and molybdenum. They're not always on a test.
I don't know, does Emma know, does the lab that's on the Isle of Man actually do leaf tissue testing? And I don't think they do more of an in-depth soil test. So we'd have to send samples away off the island.
Yeah, so David, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can certainly find out. But I would hazard a guess that maybe we'd have to send them off for more in-depth analysis. I wouldn't like to answer that because I don't actually know the answer.
Okay.
I'm being perfectly honest with you. But I do have a question for Nicole, if I can just jump in now. So thank you to David, Christina, Ewan, and Kaylee. I really appreciate you taking the time to even show us what you've been doing on your farm. My question to Nicole really is, obviously we're just really on this very early stages of the journey to regen, Soilmentor. What sort of tips would you sort of give to farmers who are very just starting out? They've never really, this is the first time maybe they've dug a hole in their field before. What should people be looking out for in the very early, in the early stages, really?
Well, I think this is the value of the Regen platform, is you can at least kind of get that highlighting in terms of red or orange. Like that's why we had to kind of consolidate and just choose 10 things, which is the impossible task. But what are some of these things early warnings for? And then you can go in and look at those interpretations to go, actually, there is a major insect issue here, or a compaction issue, or infiltration. So I think that's why we built the platforms, so that those people that are so early in the journey can actually have something independent that kind of is like, oh yeah, there's time to take some action here. I also recommend testing, like digging a hole underneath a fence line, so you can really take a look at what's going on in your own fields to see, is this response due to me? And unfortunately, most times the answer is yes. And so then it can be that aha, I find, for a lot of people. Oh, and I didn't answer the question David asked about increasing mycorrhizae. The place to start that question from is, why don't I have mycorrhizae? How have I killed them? There's certainly a relationship with mycorrhizae and the drenches, the porons that we're using. I've actually working with an organization right now who's doing the research on it, and they haven't published yet, but because there's no work being done on this, like mycorrhizae and porons, like animals have nothing to do with soil. So trying to get this research done, but that's what they're finding preliminary, is that's part of the problem. So you want to be able to test across your place and go, is there absolutely no mycorrhizae? Now, the thing is, mycorrhizae can be in the air and they can be on the feet of birds. So we've found birds actually bringing mycorrhizae in to compost piles, for instance. It's quite cool. So as long as the situation's there and your bricks comes up, then the sugars are going to help to feed those mycorrhizae. So I think number one, stop killing them.
So we started I have started to see mushrooms and fungal spores, and like toadstools and stuff, appearing back on the farm now, which we haven't had around for years as well.
Cool.
So that's a sign that it's returning, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. So I think knowing what kind of species they are, and if you're seeing a lot of diversity, I think that's a really good indicator. And then thinking about your low phosphorus, if you're going to be using any kind of phosphate fertilizers, then we want citric soluble, slow release forms. So things like guano or fish fertilizers, rather than MAP or DAP or any of those, right? Anything that's rapidly available is just going to shut your mycorrhizae down.
Right.
Yeah, so thinking about your phosphate forms is really important. I mean, I think the key question really is, how do I feed microbiology with everything that I'm doing? So if we're using urea, how do I feed microbiology? Right, well, I'm going to put in some humates, some long chain carbon that's going to feed biology, or I'm going to mix that with a compost source or whatever it is, but shifting it to, how do I put carbon out with my applications? How do I use livestock as tools? So there's things we can put in water supplies, there's things we can feed animals, we can put seeds in with animal feed, but just always thinking, okay, there's something going out in the land. How can I use it to start to maximize my soil building processes, which is quite fun. Yeah.
Thanks, David. And Nicole, I have another question as well. Initially, we talked about smell and what would be an ideal smell of a healthy soil, and what would be a smell that could indicate there is a problem. Because when we dig a hole, that's really the first thing.
Yes.
What is a smell? So could you tell a bit
Yeah.
about that?
Well, what I love is you don't even have to live in the country to know what good, healthy soil smells like. So they've done studies with, city people who still know what good, healthy soil smells like. So I always think of it a little like driving on a hot summer's day, and you get that shower of rain and you get hit with that smell, is that's called geosmin, and some of it's petrichor, right? Petrichor comes from rocks, but geosmin comes from the biology. Is it an organism called actinomycetes? It's a very, like, we all recognize that smell, that earthy smell. So you want it to smell sweet. We don't want those ammoniacal, the sulfur smells, the rotting smells, the iron, like all of that telling you something's off. And we've dug in soils where literally you just put the shovel in the ground and you haven't even opened that soil, and up comes the smell. So it can be quite overwhelming. But yeah, I think we all know what that smell is.
Great.
Mhm.
Thanks. Christina, Kaylee, Emma, or David, do you have any other question you'd like to ask? Liza?
Just one thing. The clover eating root bug grub, how do I get rid of that?
Mm.
What are the steps
Um,
that I can put into place? Because that doesn't sound like a handy thing to have, or
No, and
a quick
you know,
solution, I guess.
a couple are fine, but what it's telling you is that one, the plants aren't able to defend themselves. So what you find is as your bricks come up, as your what we call funny proteins, the free nitrogen reduces. And what's interesting is that, like, look at this with your sheep manure or your cow manure, is they often go hand in hand with insect attack, because as there's more what we call funny proteins in the system, animals are going to have sloppier manure, or more likely to be scouring, and that's the same food that your pest insects are attracted to in terms of plants, right? So telling you there's lower nutrition in it. So I would be really looking, one, in how do I build soil health, and then two, how do I bring up the nutrition of the pasture that I've got growing, so it's no longer attractive for insects. And that's a really big question. It's kind of what's in my book, Kaylee, and there's a whole chapter in there on insects and then what we can do, because there's so many roads to Rome. Like, there's not one way that we can address these things. I wouldn't be using a pesticide. Don't do that. But there are biopesticides, and what's kind of fun with some of them is you could bring it into the island and then grow them, so that on the island you're actually growing stuff. And this is what I'm seeing in kind of areas that it's really hard to do a lot of things, as people are doing things as communities. So someone might be growing up biocontrol organisms, and someone might be making vermicast, someone else might have an extractor. Is that we don't have to do all of this alone, is how do we do this from a community minded aspect, and there's things that we can grow, right? But yeah, it's a big question.
You, yeah, sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, David, Christina, Dran, and Kylie, for showing us what you've recorded on your farm. I really always love these webinars and just seeing what you've recorded and learning from you. And thanks, Nicole, for providing guidance and being here with us, and Emma and the DEFA team for having us. This will be recorded, so we'll be sending you a link to the webinar. And if you have any questions on Soilmentor, please email us at info@vidacycle.com. And we're excited to see what you record for this new year with the Soil Health Initiative. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Lovely
Thank
to
you.
see.
Thank you very
Right.
much. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yeah,
Thank
you too.
you.
Bye.